Boss tells me not to email any of her bosses because only she can communicate with them. Years ago, I was working for a large organization. My boss was very nice and pleasant to work with at first. I was hired and tasked with taking a very troubled department and bringing it up in standards. My boss was fairly supportive during the initial few months on the job, but then something changed. The department began to perform and improve greatly within the first 6 months. This was recognized and heralded by upper management. This made my boss look good and also improved overall morale on the team within the troubled department. They were finally recognized for their efforts and talents. About this time, at the 6-month mark, I was told to watch my back by a few other colleagues outside of my department. They warned me that my boss had a reputation for putting her own success over anyone else's. They also said she was known for being very threatened by any successful males who worked with her. I was the only male on the team, and this was something I was not aware of when I was hired. After investigating further, I found some truth to all of this. Over a 12-year period, over 8 men on her team either quit or were fired. Meanwhile, among the women during the same time, 8 were promoted, 2 quit. 4 were still on the team and none were fired. So I was a bit concerned, especially since I was the only male and she had this reputation. I took it all in stride and focused on managing the department to greater levels. I worked on increasing morale and made sure to communicate with my boss regularly about any situations that could become problematic. I also made sure she got maximum credit for the improvements, praising her as a great boss who secured resources and support. Fast forward to about my 8th month, and I am in a meeting with my boss. She suddenly raged at me for emailing someone in upper management. I explained I CC'd the VP because the email involved the entire area under that VP's leadership. She told me I was forbidden to email anyone above my pay grade because that is not my place. She said only she was allowed to email those people. If an email needed to go to them, with or without CC, she would send it. I asked if she wanted me to send such emails to her first, and she said yes. I also asked if I should avoid calling the VPS, and she said yes, I was not to call them either. Then she said, I know you may be used to getting your way because you are a man, but this doesn't mean you can try to take my job. I was kind of befuddled by this and decided to respect her wishes. There must be something else going on that I did not understand. Okay, fine, we'll do it her way. About a month goes by, and I only need to email a VP once. I write the email, send it to her, and wait for her to forward it. This email was time-sensitive, involving budgetary issues that only the VP could approve. A week later, I run into the VP in the elevator. She asks about the project and resources, and I say things are good. She then asks about a cost overrun, and I tell her it's best to ask my boss. She asks me to send her an email on the overrun, and I say I will. I tell my boss about the conversation, and she explodes. She yells that I am not to talk with any VP about the project. I explain it would have been rude not to acknowledge the VP's questions, since we were stuck in the elevator together. She says she has to write me up for being insubordinate and not honoring her request. I am floored but helpless. As I leave her office, she tells me, I made a mistake in hiring you. I thought you were different, but you are just as entitled as all the other men I've hired. Damn, things are not going well. Do I go to human resources? No. They usually care little about employees and focus more on protecting the company. I thought about filing a complaint about her comments, but when I had to sign the write-up, I decided against it because HR had to read it first, and I doubted they would help me. I just try to get through it and start looking for another job on the side. 2 days later, I get a call from an SVP, to whom the VP from the elevator reports. The SVP asks me to come to a meeting the next day. I say I will, but I want to check with my boss first to avoid conflicts. I also ask the SVP to contact my boss to keep her informed. The SVP pauses and says, no, that won't be necessary, and then hangs up. I email my boss, telling her about the meeting request from the SVP. She storms into my office around 5:30, about an hour before I usually leave. She closes the door and berates me for 20 minutes for talking with the SVP. She is so loud that someone almost calls security before she leaves. I knew she would be mad, but did not expect this level of rage. The next day, I go to the meeting with the SVP. At the meeting are 3 other VPS. The female VP from the elevator, the female VP to whom my boss reports, and a former VP who used to oversee my department. The SVP asks me about the overruns. I explain the issues and say I had prepared an email a few weeks ago. The VP from the elevator says she never received that email. I explain it would not come from me but from my boss. The VP asks why I wouldn't send it. I say it's not my place to email VPS. The SVP stops everyone and asks, what did you just say? I repeat my answer. The SVP questions me for about 15 minutes. They all look frustrated and disgusted. I explain that this no-contact policy was created and enforced by my boss. They say they will follow up and get the emails from my boss in the meantime. I go back to my office realizing my head is on the chopping block. I am in a no-win situation and just have to wait. The next day, a Thursday, seems normal but oppressive. Just before lunch, I get an email from the SVP. The email says my boss is taking some time off and will be back in a few days. During her absence, all requests and management decisions will be made by the VP to whom my boss reports. The weekend is coming, so I am just glad this difficult week is almost over. Later that day, around 4 p.m., The VP responsible for my department comes to my office. She tells me that as of today, my department and I no longer report to my boss. I now report directly to her. I ask what this means for the department and my job. She says nothing changes other than better support under the new reporting structure. She explains this is due to increased business and needed strategic leverage. I am told I am now free to communicate with any VP or SVP as I see fit. She apologizes for my experience with my boss and says she was unaware of the communication restrictions. I ask about my boss's role with the team, and I am told she cannot give orders without my approval. Karma, I stay at this company for about 3 years. I have a great working relationship with the new VP and other leadership. I only leave when I get a better offer in a different industry. My former boss was eventually counseled out over 3 months. HR investigated her behavior and interviewed me about the arbitrary communication rules. Her write-up of me was used as evidence that she had implemented the no-contact policy solely with me. Other alleged issues about cost overruns and financial irregularities she hid came to light. I have never seen her again. If I ever do, I would love to say, "Great seeing you again. You taught me the importance of using email to further my career." The short version, my boss forbade me from emailing or communicating with upper management, so she could be the only one getting credit. She showed bias against men and treated me unfairly based on this. Upper management found out, exposing her attempts to hide financial problems. She lost her job and I kept mine.